When Mia Turner stepped off the bus with nothing but a torn duffel bag, a sleeping 6-year-old daughter on her shoulder, and a court-stamped eviction notice shoved into her coat pocket, she felt the kind of tired that lived in the bones. Tired from years of washing dishes at diners that kept cutting her hours. Tired of shelters with flickering lights. Tired of pretending to her daughter Lily that everything would get better soon. The last thing she expected was the letter waiting in the P.O. box she still hadn't surrendered. Estate resolution notice Miriam Henderson. Her grandmother's name. A woman who had disappeared from the family's life decades ago. The letter explained that Mia had unexpectedly inherited a farm, Henderson Acres, rural land 3 miles outside the tiny, half-forgotten town of Wycliffe Ridge. No money, no instructions, just land. And an old farmhouse. Most people would laugh at the idea of inheriting an abandoned farm as salvation, but when you have nowhere to sleep, even a rotting roof feels like a miracle. So Mia walked. For hours. Through fog, through cold, down a gravel road where the world felt too quiet and too wide. When she reached the property gate hanging crooked on rust-eaten hinges, she understood why the farm had been abandoned. The fields were overgrown with waist-high weeds. The barn leaned like a drunk trying not to fall. The farmhouse windows were clouded with dust thick enough to write a life story in, but it was hers. And most importantly, it was a place Lily could sleep without strangers shouting down hallways. They spent the first night wrapped in blankets on the floor, using Mia's flashlight because the electricity hadn't been connected for who knows how long. The wind creaked through the walls like ghosts stretching their limbs. Yet for the first time in months, Mia didn't feel hunted by life. She felt paused. The next morning, sunlight dripped through the broken blinds, revealing the once beautiful farmhouse in its tragic, decayed glory. She began exploring, Lily trailing behind her like a tiny shadow. And that's when she saw the barn door shift. Something moved inside. Mia grabbed a rusted pitchfork, not that she knew how to use one, and slowly approached. The air smelled of dust, hay, and old memories. She pushed the door open with the pitchfork tip. And inside, standing in a ray of sun like some ancient relic carved from determination and sorrow, was an old horse, brown, mottled with gray, a mane tangled like forgotten silk, eyes so deep and tired they seemed older than the world itself. Lily gasped and ran forward. "Mom, he's beautiful." Beautiful wasn't the word Mia would have chosen. The horse looked like time had chewed him and spat him back out, ribs showing, a limp in the back leg, a worn leather halter hanging half-snapped. But there was something in his eyes, an intelligence that made the hair on Mia's arms rise, like he'd been waiting, like he recognized her, as if history had come alive just to greet her. On a beam above him, carved deeply into the wood, were the initials H.M.H. Mia's grandmother, Miriam Helen Henderson. Mia whispered, "Did she leave you behind?" The horse blinked slowly, almost painfully, and nudged her shoulder. And that's when Mia found the small tin box in the corner of the barn buried under hay so old it crumbled like paper. The box contained a faded photograph of Miriam standing beside this same horse, decades younger, smiling like she'd found treasure rather than a farm sinking into debt. Beneath the photo was a note in shaky handwriting. "If she ever finds her way home, the horse will guide her to what I couldn't give her myself." Mia stared at the horse. The horse stared back. She didn't know what it meant. She didn't even know if she believed in fate, but she believed in survival. And in that moment, with a barn that might collapse if the wind sneezed and a horse that looked one winter away from the end, she felt something ignite, something she thought life had beaten out of her long ago. Hope. Little did she know that this old, broken horse had carried a secret for decades, a secret that would not only change her life but rewrite everything she believed about her past, her future, and the legacy of the woman who left her the farm. And that secret? It was worth $117 million. But the world wouldn't understand how a homeless single mother and a half-forgotten horse could stumble into a fortune ordained by fate. Not until the horse led her into the second chapter of her new life, one she never could have imagined. The horse, who Lily quickly named Rusty, became the quiet heartbeat of the farm, following Mia with a familiarity she couldn't explain, almost as if he recognized her walk, her voice, the shape of her silhouette even though they had never met. Every day, she found him standing at the fence at dawn, waiting for her like a guardian carved from memory. The mystery of her grandmother's note clawed at her thoughts. What could a horse possibly guide her to? What treasure? What secret? The farm was falling apart. There wasn't a dime of value in it except maybe scrap wood. Still, the note's strange promise nagged at her until curiosity became a kind of fever. Mia began exploring the property, searching for anything unusual: loose floorboards, hidden compartments, old trunks, forgotten safes. Nothing. Days passed. Their money ran out. The pantry went empty except for canned beans. But Rusty kept nudging her toward the orchard behind the house, an orchard long dead, its trees twisted and skeletal like bony arms reaching toward the sky. At first, she thought he simply liked the shade, but Rusty always stopped in the exact same spot, a cracked patch of earth beneath a gnarled apple tree. He stomped at it repeatedly as if insisting she look closer. Mia kneeled down and brushed away the leaves and dry soil, revealing something metallic, a circular hatch, old and rusted but unmistakably man-made. Her breath hitched. Lily grabbed her sleeve. "Mom, what is that?" Mia didn't know, but she knew she had to open it. It took 3 days, a wrench she found in the barn, and all the determination a desperate woman could muster. But eventually the hatch groaned open, exhaling stale, cold air from a place untouched by time. The ladder creaked as she climbed down, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. At the bottom was a door, and on the door was the Henderson family crest, a symbol Mia had only seen once before on a childhood quilt. She pushed the door open. Inside was a small underground vault. Dust hung in the air like old secrets floating in suspended time. Boxes lined the shelves: wooden, metal, and fireproof cases, papers, ledgers, maps, gold coins, certificates. But on the center table was a single envelope labeled, "For the one who returns." Her hands trembled. Inside the envelope was her grandmother's last confession, handwritten in ink that had faded but survived time's hunger. Miriam had discovered a massive mineral deposit beneath the land, a rare element worth billions when used in advanced manufacturing. But the company that wanted to buy the land attempted to force her out. When she refused, she was threatened, sabotaged, eventually driven into hiding. She sealed the vault, hid every document proving the land's value, and disappeared to keep the secret safe until someone in the family returned. The vault contained surveys, geologic reports, ownership documents, everything needed to claim legal rights to the $117 million mineral reserve beneath Henderson Acres. Mia dropped to her knees. The world spun. The impossible was suddenly real. She was no longer a homeless single mother struggling to keep her daughter warm. She was the rightful owner of a fortune buried beneath her feet. The next weeks were a storm: lawyers, geologists, government officials, endless paperwork. At every step, Rusty stood at her side like a silent witness to destiny fulfilled. It wasn't until a veterinarian scanned Rusty's old halter tag that Mia discovered the final miracle. Rusty had been intentionally kept alive by Miriam's old friend, who believed the horse was the only one who knew where the vault was. And he did. The old horse had guarded the land with a loyalty humans rarely achieve. When the first royalty check arrived, $17 million up front, with the rest guaranteed, Mia stood in the orchard, the wind brushing her hair, tears slipping down her face as she hugged Lily and Rusty together. A woman who once had nothing now had everything. But the real miracle wasn't the fortune. It was the dignity she regained, the future she could build, the legacy she could honor, the proof that the forgotten can rise, that the abandoned can return, that the broken can become extraordinary. And so, as she looked into the camera for the video that would later reach millions, Mia said the words from her heart. If this story touched you, if you believe in miracles, second chances, or the strength of people who refuse to give up, then please subscribe. Our journey isn't over, and I want you to be part of every chapter still to come.